Sitting in expectant waiting. That's a wonderful way of expressing how it should be in meeting for worship. Being open to the Spirit, centered. How impossible! This is just a counsel of perfection. It's too difficult for me. We can, how can I do all of that? But luckily, what I find a great relief is the realization that, in fact, that's not where you start. It's to do with me being accepted as I am. Somebody said to me once, in meeting for worship, you receive what you need. You are given what you need. I find that such a relief. Well, actually, it's put much better than I can express it, I think, in a piece from Quaker Faith and Practice, which I expect you've heard about by now. And this is 2.06. The treasure I had found in meeting for worship seemed startlingly simple, and I held this treasure quietly to myself, exploring its significance, feeling it almost too good to be true. Part of its simplicity was that I and others were to start just where we were at the moment, and to proceed at our own pace from there. How blessed that there were no restraints of belief. The promptings of love and truth were the starting places, and we could move at our own pace to recognize them as the leadings of God, the beyond, which drew me and others on from our limitations and despairs and smallnesses. And I continue to find that really moving. The other wonderful thing about it is that it was written by Ruth Fall in 1987. And I find it wonderful that Quakers continue to reinvent, to find freshness as we move forward. Anyway, having said that, let me share with you actually what I do find. The first thing is that as I sit down into meeting for worship, I have this whirl, this maelstrom of thoughts. It's a complete storm. Of course, this may be what you find, or it may not. People's experiences are their own. Sometimes I never go beyond this through the whole of meeting for worship. But one thing that is wonderful is that whatever happens, even if I just sit there with this whirling storm of thoughts in my head all hour, that by the end I usually feel much better than I did at the start. So it's always worthwhile. Now I'll give, of course, the usual tip that is given by all meditators of every type, that what you should do is just not attempt to hold on to anything. If there are all these thoughts rushing through your brain, then let them go. Notice what they are, notice what's happening to you, and let them just keep going. Don't attach yourselves to them, nor try and stop them, just let them go. But if I get through that, then the next stage, as it were, is actually another storm, but of feelings, of emotions. And sometimes I feel kind of proud of myself that I'm feeling so deeply, but in a sense that's another kind of distraction, another delusion. And if I do get through that, then I get to a place of openness and stillness. And I have a way of visualizing that as a place. If you like, it's a metaphor for that spot. I'm still groping for the right words, these metaphors. In a sense, it's pointless my sharing with you what that picture I have is, because it's so private to me and yours will be so different. It's useful for me to have that picture because I can sometimes take myself there by remembering and as it were, going. But being there is nice, but there is something that sometimes then happens further, which is actually a closeness of the spirit, a being visited. One can, as it were, open the doors and say, God, I'm here, but that's the expectant waiting. You can't demand to be visited. And I think that's the final thing to say, is that actually all of this is only an approximation. These stages that I'm sinking through, even that is a notion that I've concocted for myself. That's not the truth. And actually all of it is to do with the operation of grace. It's not up to us. We can only wait.